Jonathon Coachman joins us now on our hotline. Rob Dibble Show with Ben Darnell on your afternoon drive. And Coach covers the NBA, covers MLB, handicaps, a lot of this stuff. Also covering your wrestling needs. Coach, how you been, buddy?
Coach.
What's up, boys? I got to tell you, out here on the West Coast, I miss my Rob Dibble Show. I don't get it unless I'm listening to iHeartMedia. Let's go. Hello, boys.
Dude, we love you, man. We miss you. So tell us about some of the things that you're into now. What are you covering?
Yeah, it's so funny because you guys know this, that the whole media space is changing. And about 14 months ago, I decided, you know what? I've got a lot of cool things going on. I still call events for the PGA Tour. Called the Memorial last week.
Yep.
But I started my own sports betting show. Then we started our own pro wrestling show. Because, Rob, you know this, with my history, I was adamant. When I got to ESPN, no more wrestling for the coach, period. And now as networks have gone into remote shows, both of my shows are on national television in 4 months and 6 months on the Stadium Network, which is on Prime Video, DirecTV, YouTube TV. Everything is changing. So I kind of have a smorgasbord of things that I do. And I also just started a big new role with the PFL, the Professional Fighters League, which is also on ESPN. So long story short, a lot of people think I still work for ESPN, which I do not. I work with projects that are on ESPN. So everything's changing. I've had to change with it. But, man, has it been a lot of fun.
All right, so let's start with the NBA, since you cover the NBA and the MLB and the sports betting world. Are you shocked by what happened to Tom Thibodeau?
That's a very good word. I'm shocked in the sense that he did a really, really good job with a franchise. And I even worked at MSG in 2007 and 2008. It's not the easiest place to work, and they haven't been this far in 25 years. With that being said, I did see different reports about player-driven or Jim Dolan. I work for Jim Dolan. But here's the thing, guys. When you've been somewhere 5 years and you have a history of, and I can't even believe I'm saying this because, my God, you're playing basketball for $40 million a year, but to overwork your players in the regular season, and then when they get to the playoffs, it's something completely different. From that way, it didn't shock me because he's not like a warm, fuzzy guy either. And there's some really good names out there that have gotten fired this year that I think the Knicks wanted to have the opportunity to go get. So I think this is more about who they're going to get than about the jobs that Tibbs did.
I'm shocked by these NBA Finals lines. Why is Oklahoma City such an overwhelming favorite? I understand they won the West. They only lost 14 regular season games. They blew through the playoffs. But I'm just not, as a Pacers fan, I guess I have to preface it by saying that as well, Coach. But I don't see the Pacers as a 5-1 underdog. And, man, I know SGA's like MVP pick is like minus 3,500. Explain to me why OKC is such an overwhelming favorite as far as Vegas odds go.
It's absolutely insane. And my daily show on Stadium is called Coach and Company. We literally, Ben, talked about this on this morning's show. Because sometimes the sports books, they look at certain teams or franchises, and they are not who we think they are. The Pacers arguably were the best team in the Eastern Conference after the All-Star break or after the trade deadline. And yet the books never respected them. In the entire New York series, every game in New York, they were a significant underdog, even after winning the first 2 games there. And so I just don't think the books believe the Pacers are as good as what they've shown. But guess what? If I'm a betting man and I'm going to sprinkle something on this series, simply because of the price, there's no way the number's right for the series. Public service announcement to your listeners, don't bet on the Thunder. If you're going to bet on the Thunder, do it with a series price, meaning 4-1, 4-2, something like that. But if you're dumb enough, guys, to lay minus 400, minus 5, minus 6 on the NBA Finals, then you're not wrong. The prices are way off. And even the Game 1 spread, 9.5 points, why is it that? I'll tell you. Because the Thunder won 61 games this year by double figures or more, meaning almost 70% of their games, well, 75 in the regular season, was by 10 points or more. So the books know that really good sports bettors are going to look at all those numbers, and they're going to say, hey, if I don't have a number close to 10, I've got to go the other way. So they put the number just close enough to that trend so people will bet on it on either side. and that's how they make money on their juice and don't have to worry about the spread. That's why it's 9.5.
All right, so tell me how the Pacers changed that. And obviously I talk about this because if you take one of those first two games, I think you totally changed the momentum coming back to your place if you can win those two. But what do the Pacers have to do to win one of those first two games?
Rob, that's the thing. When you say how can they change the perception, at this point they're not going to change the perception, which is why they're such a good bet. How do they go into Oklahoma City and win a game? Playing their game. You got to understand, when you look at the series with Minnesota, if they would have just played smart basketball, they could have extended that one out. The Pacers are much better than the Timberwolves. So if they go in there and do exactly what they've been doing to the other teams, like New York, and they got to play faster. And Oklahoma City, they're a very willing dance partner. They'll score 230, 240 in a game. I would lean into, after game one, playing the total. But I'm telling you right now, Rob, for Indiana to win even one game, they just got to do what they've been doing. They've been playing really good on the road as well. And when you play on the road that well, even in a hostile environment, to me, I think they're a live dog to win the NBA championship. I really, really do. And from a betting perspective, I wouldn't touch this unless you're going to play something on the Pacers with the spread or maybe even sprinkle a little on the money line. But Rob, I think they go in and they win one of those two regardless.
I like to set an alarm on Wednesdays so I don't miss setting a fantasy team up for a golf tournament that starts on Thursday. Canadian Open right around the corner, baby. I got my, let's see, who are our guys? Pendrith is our guy. Corey Connors is our Canadian guy. We got a couple of faves over here in this studio as far as the Canadians go. What say you? What are you feeling as far as Canadian Open the week before the U.S. Open?
I am so glad you asked me this because I just happen to be sitting in numero uno spot with a big one and done that I'm in where you pick one guy to win every tournament and you can't pick him again.
Yeah.
You know what those are?
Yeah.
I've been killing it. I picked Rory at the Masters, JT at the RBC. I had Scheffler this past week because I play the big guys at the big events with the big money.
Right.
This is not one of them, Ben, but you can get a lot of good. If you're talking fantasy and we're talking DraftKings and you got to fit your guys in, I don't know the numbers there, but I'll tell you the guys that I do like. And remember, anybody that's listening, that the Canadian Open, they move the event around a lot. This is the 38th course in 121 years. So there's not a lot of course history. They move it around for major championships that they want to have down the road. So I would lean into just really good ball strikers. None of these players are going to know this course very well at all. I love Corey Connors. I love Nick Taylor, who has the greatest win in the history of the Canadian Open a couple of years ago. I like Ryan Fox, who had a really good year last year. To me, stay away from Rory. He's playing this week. He's got a lot of negativity around him by not playing the Memorial, not calling Jack, not talking to the media at the PGA Championship. So to me, lean into Canadian, I like Ryan Fox, and lean into ball strikers like a Sunjay M, or I never like to go with a back-to-back champion, to be honest with you. And Robert McIntyre last year, one of the great wins you're ever going to see with his dad on the bag as his caddy because he was battling mental health issues. Yeah. He was depressed, and winning $1.4 million, that'll help a lot in the world of golf. So to me, lean into all those types of players because none of these guys are going to know all the tricks of the trade when it comes to this course.
You can check out Jonathon Coachman on Coach and Company on Stadium. Let's talk about you being on the West Coast. The best team in baseball actually is in Detroit, has 40 wins. But you cover the Angels, you cover the Giants, you cover obviously the Padres and the Dodgers. Dodgers just keep getting richer. They trade for a closer, get this Kim kid from Korea. Where do they see any of these teams that have to compete against the Dodgers going on the trade deadline?
Call me an old fogey, Rob. I'm not a big fan. And out here, you can't tell a Dodgers fan anything.
No.
Oh, no, we didn't buy her. Because when you look at the numbers, they're great in the regular season, but it has not necessarily translated until last year into multiple World Series championships. So right now, the Padres, they've got all the talent in the world. They don't need to trade for anybody. They need to start hitting the freaking ball. But I'll tell you this, that Roger Lodge has a drive time on ESPN radio out here like you guys. and I do a weekly segment on his show. He used to host the show Blind Date, and they were so in love with Shohei Ohtani when he played 20 minutes from where I'm standing right now at Angel Stadium. But all of a sudden, he becomes public enemy number one when he goes up I-5 about 25 miles to Dodger Stadium. And so, to me, right now, the Dodgers, people think that they're the big bully bad guy. Out here, can you really have a big bully bad guy that smiles like Mookie Betts?
I know.
Or is loved like Freddie Freeman? Or Shohei, every time he hits a home run to the moon, everybody cheers, including the fans of the team he just hit it against? I don't think so. But this has to translate into multiple World Series championships. And right now, there's only one team on the American League side, and that's the Yankees that I see. I don't think the Tigers are good enough to beat the Dodgers. And when you get into a 7-game series, that's when I think all of this buying talent is going to really show up, as it's going to be great pitcher after great pitcher, great reliever after great reliever, bats. And that's when people are going to say, well, they bought everybody, and rightfully so. Rob, if I can get the same money going somewhere else, I want to compete. I don't want somebody to say there's an asterisk next to my name because I played on basically an all-star team in Los Angeles. I personally wouldn't want to do it, but then again, I've never been in that position to sign those type of deals. So right now, I don't think anybody out here thinks anybody truly can compete over 162 with the Dodgers.
Coach, I was watching your stuff around the NFL draft and a lot of the Shador talk and stuff. I love what you guys were talking about just as far as what Shador is going to be in this league. And give me your thoughts on why you think he fell so far.
I think that nowadays, Ben, that what your perception is who you are to fans. And I know with all the different – and I work with a lot of big companies now privately. And they believe what's on social media. They believe what it is. But for him, he actually did it to himself. What did we believe about Shador before the draft? Well, he's driving a $300,000 car. No 20-year-old should ever do that. He's wearing a $100,000 watch. Are you kidding me? So the perception was you're hearing stories about birthday parties and taking FaceTime calls during meetings with the NFL teams. You can't get any more disrespectful than that. And then I know for a fact that his last one with the Giants was such a disaster that Brian Daboll made sure that everybody else in the league knew what he was like in that meeting. That's why he fell, because all these teams, whether you want to admit it or not, they love to stick together when they can. And they wanted to show Shador, wait a second, we don't think you're this good to act like a number one pick. Do you guys know he would only meet with teams inside of the top 5? Nobody outside, as if they couldn't have traded up if they really liked him, like Travis Hunter. Just look at your teammate. Travis Hunter is a baller, and he's a good dude. And you got women on airplanes talking about how nice he is. That's how you get farther. It's not showing everybody how much your NIL money is going to buy. All of that negativity, that's why he fell. Now, he can change all of that by going out playing, winning the starting job, because Deshaun Watson's not coming back. You going to put your money on Joe Flacco lasting the entire season? Hell, the first 4 weeks? Not this guy. So, to me, he's in the best spot possible after he fell all that way.
Tell me about the PFL and this new league, and right now, what you've got a semifinal thing going on. Tell us a little bit about that.
It's so great. So PFL, everybody says, "Oh, your competition in the UFC." No, not since the coach arrived. We are in our own lane. We've been around for 5 or 6 years, but we really changed everything that we're doing. We're launching, I believe, the last number was 8 around the world. We want to create the Champions League of MMA. So we're launching PFL Africa in July, PFL Australia in July. We already have PFL Europe, PFL MENA. What we have here in the States is a PFL World Tournament. It's all over ESPN, ESPN2. The next 3 weeks is our semifinals. We started with 64 fighters, and I'm kind of the voice of it. I do all the press conferences, all the videos. I have my own segments. I sit down with all the fighters. So everything but play-by-play, you're going to see my hands all over it. And we're going to go to Nashville. We're going to go to Wichita. We're going to go to Chicago this month. And by the end of this month, we'll be down to 16 fighters, 8 divisions, fighting for $500,000 and the right to be the number one contender for all of our world champions, that we will crown 8 new champions by the end of the season. And that will really set us up for 2026 and beyond. And we want everybody coming out. Rob, just today, we announced fan-friendly pricing. And unlike the UFC or the WWE, we're starting our lowest tier at $25 because we want people in the building enjoying the fights and really helping us grow the PFL. So I'm thrilled to be in the position I am and where PFL is headed.
I can't believe you're just saying that.
Yeah,
because
we're just talking about the UFC pricing.
Yeah, Newark 316. Yeah. I think you can get in the building for $350 right now, and the upwards around $3,500 for
it's crazy.
It is crazy.
It's crazy. SummerSlam is insane. And, I worked there for almost 13 years. And right now, TKO, which owns UFC, WWE, they're getting crushed nationally because every decision they make is about money. And I know that's how the world goes round, but you can't be in a family business and charge that kind of money for events. You just can't do it.
Well, I bet you guys are finding some talent, man. I mean, every corner of this globe has MMA fighters and just hungry athletes that want to compete. I'm picturing in my head like a blood sport kind of movie with Coachman actually being the announcer, with JVD there and dipping his hands in honey with glass or something like that. But I love how you guys are doing it because you're setting it up. What you're saying, you're getting champions now for contenders for fights that are coming up in the future.
Correct. So that's the thing. There's fighters all over the globe that nobody's ever found. You're absolutely right. In our first event in April, we had 4 nights, and we had 32 fights. We had 21 finishes. That's an insane number. That's over 70% of finishes. That's what fans want. When they brought a lot of us in, a lot of the WWE personnel got fired by TKO down in Stanford. So PFL is headquartered in New York. So we got all these incredibly talented people to come in and work for the PFL that formerly worked at the WWE, and we know how to promote. We know how to build stars, and that's exactly what we're going to do. We got a lot of good young ones, too. People are going to see them on ESPN this month, I promise you. Super exciting fighters.
I love it.
Coach, you are the best, brother. It was great to catch up with you. Hopefully we can do it sooner than later, so appreciate your time, brother.
Love you guys. Miss you guys. Love your
too.
voices. Keep doing your thing, and I'm here. You got my number.
All right. Thank you.